In this video, we're going to continue looking at how to solve rational equations. These two examples, though, are going to be a little bit different. Now, you can apply the same concepts as we've done in the previous examples, which are to first state your excluded values, then to multiply by the common denominator, and then to solve. These are the three basic steps for solving a rational equation. Now, we can apply these same steps to these two examples. However, we don't have to. And let's take a look at why we don't have to. If we have 40 over x minus 3 equals x plus 3 over 1, you have already dealt with problems like this before by the time you reach Algebra 2. And that is the idea that you have a fraction equal to a fraction. And you've learned in this scenario, if you have two fractions set equal to each other to solve, you can cross multiply. And so in this situation, it's a special case. Now, if you can't remember when the special case will work, then you can always follow these three basic steps. But if you can tell this, then you don't have to. So I'm going to first do the same idea. I'm going to state my excluded values. So the excluded values are where your denominator equals 0. So I have x minus 3 on the bottom. So set x minus 3 equal to 0. X equals 3 is an excluded value. I cannot get this for an answer. I can't set 1 equal to 0 and solve for variables, so we just ignore this one. So I'm going to cross multiply. I'm going to take 40 times 1, which is 40, and I'm going to take x minus 3, that entire expression, and multiply it by x plus 3. So since an expression, you're going to want to put it in parentheses. And so if I go from here, this looks like it's going to create x squared minus 3x plus 3x, which will cancel, minus 9. So I'm going to get x squared minus 9 equals 40. Now I'm going to factor it. I see a quadratic, so I'm going to subtract 40 to get x squared minus 49 equals 0. This is a difference of squares. X squared is a perfect square and 49 is a perfect square. So the square root of x squared is x. And then square root of 49, you're going to have x plus 7 and x minus 7. So to solve, you set each one equal to 0. X plus 7 equals 0 will give you a negative 7. X minus 7 equals 0 will give you a positive 7. So x equals plus or minus 7. And since my excluded value was 3, and my x is not 3, then I do not need to worry about the excluded value. And so in this situation, we have a case where we can cross multiply. We have two fractions equal to each other. So let's look at example number 4. It's the same idea. For example 4, I have 1 over m minus 4 equals 2 over m minus 2. I still have two fractions equal to each other, so I'm going to apply my cross multiplication approach. It's a lot easier to do, and it's something you're already confident with by the time you are in Algebra 2. So use it. So in cross multiplication, you still have to keep in mind your excluded values. You set the denominator equal to 0. So I have m minus 4 equals 0. One of my excluded values is m equals 4. But I also have the expression m minus 2 in the denominator. So m minus 2 equals 0. M equals 2. I have two excluded values. I cannot get 4 or 2 for an answer, or it will create a 0 in the denominator. So we need to keep that in mind when we're solving. So let's cross multiply. I'm going to take 1 times the expression m minus 2. Well, 1 times anything is itself, so 1 times m minus 2 is m minus 2. I'm then going to take the expression m minus 4 and multiply it by 2. So I have 2 times m minus 4 equals m minus 2. I would distribute and get 2m minus 8 equals m minus 2. Now I'm going to do the next two steps all at once. You would subtract m from both sides to get the variable on one side. So 2m minus m is m. Then what I would do is I would add 8 to the other side, and negative 2 plus 8 is 6. And so m equals 6, which is not one of my excluded values, so therefore this is my answer. So if I have two fractions that are equal to each other, I can set up cross multiplication for it to solve. And that is still solving rational equations. It's just a special case scenario, one that you're already confident with using. So if you ever see this case, you can use cross multiplication. If you cannot tell when you can or cannot use cross multiplication, you can still use the same approach covered in the previous videos.